So Santiago Ramon Cajal, as a young boy, was very interested in art and drawing, and his father wanted him to be a doctor. He was at a very good Catholic school, Spain. He was Spaniard, and he had to do what his dad said. But he went on to become a medical illustrator, blending that comprehensive knowledge of the body and different techniques to look in a microscope with his drawing capability. And he used some staining techniques that were very new at the time to be able to demonstrate and isolate different neurons. And what he was able to show with this demonstration of one depicted in his drawings is that there was a little tiny space in between the neurons. And we had previously thought, we, the royal we in science and medicine, that the neurons touched, and that's how information was conveyed, kind of like a piece of wire that's sending a signal down it like an extension cord or something. But in fact, they don't. There's a little tiny gap, and that gap is where our psychoactive medicines actually are working. So things like Prozac is a selective serotonin reuptake inhibitor. That's happening in that synapse, that little tiny gap that he was able to show. So Ramon Cajal is considered the father of modern neuroscience. Ramon Cajal, that's using the format of last names that actually have a matriarchal lineage. So that's his mom's name plus his dad's last name. And if he had a son who married, the mom's name would continue, and the dad's name, the father's name, Ramon, would be attached at the end. Anyway, so his illustrations, which are amazing, still used today because they're so magnificent, even in our physio textbook in the retina are being used, was able to guide medicine in new and exciting directions. And here's one of his drawings. That's a picture of him at a microscope. And of course, the beauty of this is showing the layers in the retina, which is like this little tiny thin tissue at the back of the eye that pretty much almost dissolves when you touch it. So he was able to isolate that and show all these amazing layers. And these are all different types of neurons. At the very bottom, like in terms of where the light's coming into the eye, are the sensory neurons, rods and cones, and they actually are the detectors of the light, and then they're feeding information up through these different levels, which will eventually, all these axons will form into the optic nerve and go through the brain. So some of the cell structures that are going to be important to understand is the cell membrane, because like any cell, the neuron, the nerve cell, has a lot of these similarities. The membrane is pretty much the skin that's holding the whole structure together. It's a very, very thin layer. The nucleus is the center point. It has the chromosomes, which are the blueprints for manufacturing proteins and all kinds of other things for the cell. The mitochondrion, or plural mitochondria, and that's the sort of a powerhouse structure, and the cell is producing all kinds of energy for different metabolic activities. Ribosomes are where the cell is synthesizing new protein molecules. Each cell has thousands of these protein molecules. The endoplasmic reticulum is this network of little tubules that transport newly synthesized proteins to various locations in the cell. this is a really beautiful depiction of some of the activities in the cell, especially when you see all that goes into moving around a protein. So if you want to, hold on for a second.